Welcome to episode 10 of the Life in Norway show. Is Norway really the happiest place on earth? It's questions like this that I hope to answer as I interview fellow foreigners who live and work right here in Norway. Having said that, I've got something a little different for you today. As we're racing towards the end of season 1, I've decided to mix things up and do a behind-the-scenes show. I'll be taking you on a walk around WorkWork, the creative co-working space and gaming pub here in central Trondheim. It's home to my business, which amongst other things publishes this website and podcast, and a whole host of other people from Norway's creative industries. The episode starts with a chat with Marius, one of the co-founders, who tells us about the concept. You can find out more about WorkWork and get links to everything we discuss on the show on the show notes page at lifeinnorway.net/episode 10. Happy listening. So I'm here with Marius Thorvaldsen, one of the founders of WorkWork. Now, we have listeners from all around the world, but even here in Trondheim, WorkWork means different things to different people. So in as shorter time frame as possible, how do you describe WorkWork to somebody?
Wow. Well, it's a pub. It's a bar with a co-work space on top of it. That's sort of the easy way to describe it. But yeah, a lot of sort of the stuff we do at WorkWork, both in the bar or up here in the co-work space, is sort of related to different areas of sort of the creative industries. So we got a lot of like game designers, we got podcasters, we got sort of media streaming, television companies, production, we got VR, we got AR. So it's all about sort of trying to bring different people together around this sort of mutual interest of games and game-related stuff, I think. So it's got a certain bit of a nerdiness
Sure.
about it.
I think for people listening who aren't in Norway, they might imagine such a place in London, in Los Angeles, in New York, in Paris, or somewhere like that. Yeah. Trondheim's, we're under 200,000 people here. It's essentially a small town by world standards. So how can such a city or a town support a place like this? Is there something unique about Trondheim?
Well, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, we got sort of one of the best universities in Norway is located here in Trondheim, so we got this sort of huge influx of students sort of coming and going. But sort of my sort of way into this project started basically with a sort of a how should I put it? I used to work in sort of the nightlife scene for many years, running bars, and met a lot of like cool, sort of creative, interesting people doing photography or film or being actors or whatever, and they always seemed to sort of move away from Trondheim because they needed to be somewhere else. They needed to be in Paris or they needed to be in Berlin to sort of realize these ambitions they had for their creative industries. And sort of my philosophy is, why couldn't we just make all these awesome people stay in Trondheim and sort of band together and make something great here happen as well. I mean, it's 2017, we got the internet. You don't have to be sort of somewhere to make something happen. You could sort of almost be anywhere. So the idea is pretty simple. Make sort of a nice place for nice people to meet other nice people, I guess. So, but I mean, it could probably work in Paris as well. I wouldn't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
So for somebody who's just visiting Trondheim, as a lot of people who are listening to this show are planning to over the coming year, what does somebody who's just walking in off the street get from a place like WorkWork?
Yeah, well, it's a great place to stop by, just if you're in the mood for leeching off our great internet connection, having a cup of coffee, getting a milkshake. I mean, just playing a few round of board games or shuffleboard or pinball or whatever the stuff that's downstairs in the pub. But I mean, I see more and more people now sort of traveling, sort of doing their work wherever they are. So I mean, we certainly sort of fill a function in that aspect. But WorkWork is mostly about sort of coming inside, sitting down, maybe meeting a stranger across the table from you overplaying a board game or something like that. I think games are really sort of underrated in the way they're able to sort of bring strangers together. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're like the president of a big company and I'm sort of the janitor at WorkWork. We still need to play this game following the same rules. So it's all about sort of leave yourself at the front door and come inside and be part of sort of the community that we hope to sort of the community spirit that we hope to bring to Trondheim as well.
Sure. So WorkWork's been open, what, 2 years, something like that?
Yeah, we've been open now for 2 years in December. Yeah. So
and things have developed quite quickly. There's new things happening all the time, new events and so on.
Yeah.
If we fast forward, let's say 5 years into the future, what does WorkWork as a concept look like? Is it still as it is now, or have things moved on and changed?
Interesting questions. I mean, we hadn't really thought when we started up that we would come to where we are now so quickly. We sort of had a pretty modest ambition with sort of going break even after maybe running it for 3 years or something like that. But the thing that gets me excited about WorkWork is when all these different people come in and you spend a bit of time to sort of get to know who they are and what are the projects they are working on and sort of trying to help people find each other in a sense. I hope we've sort of evolved that concept in another 5 years to something maybe even bigger. But for me, it's all about sort of bringing people together so they can sort of do interesting stuff together, I think. So I would certainly like to see that happen, but I don't know how we're going to do that or what that is going to be looking like. But of course, we have some discussions now about, because we have some different other cities asking us, oh, when are you going to be opening a WorkWork here? And this is something we've never actually sort of considered, but now due to sort of strangers asking us these questions, we also need to sort of sit down and think about this as sort of a company. But I mean, we are 8 people who started the company, and all of us we are very different people, and we have very different ambitions. So our sort of goal is to figure out something that everybody sort of thinks is a good idea at the end of the day. Yeah.
One of the things that has really struck me from being based here for the last couple of months is that everybody has several things going on. So as well as being, I guess, a sort of spokesperson for WorkWork, you also have a couple of projects as well. You want to share some of those?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, sort of on top of managing WorkWork, I work at the university here, at like the faculty level where I'm involved with sort of education and technology. So I've always been really interested in education and technology. So in addition to working at the university, I have actually 2 different edtech startup companies that I co-founded. And I also have a virtual reality company that I founded with some friends. And as of this year, we've also done a bit of restructuring with WorkWork. So now we actually have a new company that is owned by WorkWork called Kick-Ass, which is an investment company. So hopefully through Kick-Ass, we're able to actually start even more companies. So, but it's all about, for me, sort of finding these matches with different people that you can just tell, oh man, you're great, you should totally do this thing, and sort of try to put some fuel on those fires.
That's a really interesting concept to have an investment company or an investment fund attached to a place like this. Will you be planning on investing in any podcasts?
Yeah, quite possibly. If a cool podcast company comes to us and sort of has a great pitch and a great idea, sure, why not? We mostly sort of see it as people more than companies.
Of course.
But yeah, for sure. I think there's a room for many great podcast companies.
Good stuff. Right, Marius, thanks so much for your time. I'm now going to take a little walk around WorkWork and see who I can find and what they're up to.
Great. Thanks for having me.
My name is Hans Andreas Kleven, and I'm the CEO at Pineleaf Studio. We are a game developer based in Trondheim, which are trying to make unique and competitive cooperative games. Especially right now, we're working on a game called Dwarfheim, which is a new type of real-time strategy game.
So tell us a bit more about Dwarfheim. The name is terrific. I mean, a company coming out of Trondheim, a name like Dwarfheim, it says a lot. But tell us about the game. What can people do?
Well, what we're doing differently is that in a normal real-time strategy game, you usually have all kind of tools available to you. But we kind of split them up into 4 and have people cooperate in what is usually a normal game. So instead of having to run an army and build, you can either only run the army or build, and you have to rely on your teammates to get through the game.
So how did you come up with the idea, and how many people are working on the game?
We are currently 17 people, and we originally came up with the idea through a friend of ours who we met, and he wanted to do something about like the Hobbit franchise, and he wanted to kind of have like one guy play on a cell phone and one guy play on a computer, and it kind of evolved from that into what we have today.
Good stuff. So tell me about life here at WorkWork. Why choose to base the company in a place like this?
It's just a brilliant place to hang around people with kind of different ideas and different experiences. Everyone here is very helpful, and everyone here has this kind of like spark that they want to create something themselves. So it's very refreshing and relaxed atmosphere to just kind of like get something done.
Good stuff. So where can people find out a little bit more about Dwarfheim?
You can check out our website, dwarfheim.com, or check us out on Facebook. You can also read up on our studio at pineleafstudios.com.
Good stuff, Hans. Thanks. I'll let you get back to your coding.
Thanks.
I was in Tokyo, so I couldn't have gained health.
My name is Ronnie Anderson. I'm one of the co-founders of WorkWork, and I'm also the founder of my own game studio called Kybernesis. Kybernesis is currently working on a horror game, which is best explained as an XCOM game meets Howard Phillips Lovecraft. If you don't know what Lovecraft is, you probably heard of Cthulhu, which is Lovecraft's creation.
How did you come up with that as a concept?
XCOM has always been one of my favorite games, and Lovecraft is my favorite author, so it's just natural to merge those two together, and I think it's a perfect fit, because you can have investigators investigating this supernatural cosmic horror that Lovecraft writes about, so you can have real cosmic horror set in a turn-based game where your investigators just investigate the stuff and stop cultists from summoning the bad stuff from other dimensions. And
so is this a game that's out now, available, or are you still developing it?
it's under development. So we're still working on the first demo that we're going to use, and if everything goes according to plan, we will launch a Kickstarter next year with this demo.
Oh, well, watch out for that, everyone. I didn't actually realise you were one of the co-founders of WorkWork. So what is it about this concept of a co-working space that attracted you to the idea, and why is Kybernesis based here?
Well, actually, I was actually the one with the idea. So I started the whole thing in 2012 after I founded the Game Developers Guild here in Trondheim. So one of the points that I had on the first board meeting was that I wanted a house where it would be an accelerator for game developers, preferably connected to a cafe or bar or something. So we started working on that in 2012, and then Marius came into the board at 2013, and he had experience and did this dream about exactly the same thing, but with the focus on the bar. So I gave he just took over, and it was really great because he knew what he was doing and he had all this planned. And if it hadn't been from Marius, it wouldn't happen. So
I'm intrigued by the concept of a cafe and basically a pub and an office all in the same building. And I mean, that's what got me interested in the place in the first place. How you must have met some skepticism from people who thought an office and a bar aren't going to work very well together.
Well, the interesting part is that the people that mattered they love the idea because they saw that the synergy with having one part of the office open for public people, like everyone could go in and just test stuff that actually are made on a house, has a really strong appeal. It was more like people that we expected sitting here could come and saying, oh yeah, you're gonna sit there and work while you're drinking beer and playing PlayStation. Oh, you're gonna get so much work done. Like, but you haven't understood the concept at all. But those who actually did understand what they were doing and saw the value that it gave to the entrepreneurship and the startup community in Trondheim, they just loved the idea.
Fantastic. Good stuff, Ronnie, thanks. Where can people find out more about your company?
You can go to kybernesis.com, and if you want to follow the game, it's the pib.com.
Great stuff, thank you. It's now time to take a short break, so I've come downstairs into the cafe to play some board games. Once we're done, I'll be speaking to some more residents of WorkWork, including some of my fellow non-Norwegians who are based here. This episode of the Life in Norway show is sponsored by the Moon Norway Guidebook. One Amazon reviewer called it the gold standard for guides to Norway, the best and most readable travel guide to Norway published in many years. Good coverage of the less obvious treasures of this beautiful and inviting country. If you're planning a trip to Norway this year, pick up your copy today from Amazon, Barnes & Noble or your local independent bookstore. You can find out more information about Moon Norway plus links to buy the guide from lifeinnorway.net/moon.
Yes, hello, I'm Peter, the founder, one of the four, of Visflex. And we work with virtual reality and augmented reality, mostly for business-to-business products.
So what does that mean in reality? Because this is a really emerging area, and whenever I walk into the office where you guys sit upstairs, you always seem to be playing around with some technology or another. So give us a little more of an insight into what it is you guys do on a daily basis.
Whenever we use the technology, we want people to get immersed into a future environment. Because when you put on VR glasses, virtual reality glasses, you can actually move yourself into quite an immersive future visualization. So for businesses to businesses, this means that you, one of our customers, we make a product now that we have the first customer for, where we help them sell apartments in new buildings that are not built yet, because that's quite expensive to build sort of showrooms for apartments. It is being done today, by the way, and people pay quite some money for it. But you don't get the view, you don't get the feeling of the room, and you don't get like sort of the understanding of sunlight. Do I have sunlight during midsummer on my terrace? So that's what we provide them, and it's fully 3D. So it's not just sort of a 360 image, but you actually can walk around and you can open the doors and really get the feel of the apartment, and that is important, we think, for people trying to sell one.
Now, I got to try this out just a week or so ago, and it is really remarkable technology. If you haven't ever put on a VR helmet, it really is quite a strange feeling when you do it for the first time. Now, being based in a co-working space, I imagine that having access to people, I mean, every time I walk upstairs, you seem to want to put that helmet on my head. David, try this, we've got something new. To get that instant feedback, that must be a really important reason why you're based here.
Yeah, and basically the reason why we founded the company was because we met here at WorkWork. And together, the four of us decided that our competences are quite unique when they're put together. So we started the company on that basis. We didn't even have a product. We had the right people, and now we have 4 large business-to-business customers just after half a year of running the company. And I think that speaks to the power of co-working spaces like these, that you actually meet people and together you just figure out the way forward, whether it's founding a company or collaborating in between the companies or whatnot. So that's been a huge benefit for us.
This is really interesting stuff. Where can listeners find out more about the company?
We have a very simple web page, a bit low profile at the moment. So stay tuned. We're now in an investment phase. So when that is settled, it's probably the right moment to be a bit more sort of expansive when it comes to communication around the company.
Good stuff. And I'll put the link to that website in the show notes. Peter, thank you very much. The sound quality for the next section isn't the best, but that's because Eric only comes in from time to time, and I didn't have my microphone with me when I saw him. Even so, I really wanted to speak to him, as Eric is a fellow foreigner living here in Norway, and that is the whole point of this show.
Hi, my name is Eric Holton Haugen. I'm a Canadian living in Norway. I actually live in Oppdal, Norway, so a little south of Trondheim, but I like to work here. This is a good place for me to do what I do.
What is it that you do?
I'm a game developer who's working on launching a series of games based around Stickman, a character we all know, and probably someone you probably drew the first person you ever drew was probably a Stickman.
So what brings a Canadian to Norway, in particular Oppdal, because Oppdal isn't exactly known for its big, thriving international community?
No, it's a bit of a long story, but I could shorten it by saying it's about a girl. So I have a lady, my girl is Norwegian, and she's we lived in Canada in Vancouver for several years. We had our first child over there. And then we had an opportunity to move to Norway to sort of take over an old farmhouse, an old farm property, and renovate it. And we had another child here up in Trondheim. And then, but we live in Oppdal, but because I work in tech, Oppdal's not the best place to sort of call my working home. So WorkWork is great because what the office we work at here, it's a collection of developers, some game developers, creative folks, and the network is good. So it's worth the trip. It's a 2-hour train ride, but if I do catch the train, I can work on the train. And if I drive, well, I can listen to a podcast. So maybe I can listen to your podcast next time I drive.
Sounds a good idea to me. So Oppdal, I know it, and a lot of other people know it as a ski resort. We're coming into ski season now. But what's it like to live there, and especially for the rest of the year when the skiers aren't there?
Mm-hmm. Well, Oppdal is very focused on outdoor life, or as Norwegians call it, uteliv. And they, so you've got, well, not quite 6 months, but say 5 months of skiing. And if you're hardcore, you can actually ski longer. But I'm kind of a ski lift skier. So we live about 7 kilometers out of the town of Oppdal. Oppdal has got 7,000 people. So we live in what's called Bygda, which is like the countryside. And ironically, we can actually ski from the ski lift right down to our place. We're at the back of the mountain, the foot of the mountain. So, but yeah, the snow's already starting to fall, and I have a 7-year-old son who's itching to get on the slopes, and my 3-year-old, he also is. So we've got ski passes, and we're waiting to use them. And for the rest of the year, it's really like there's a lot of mountain biking that happens, hiking. Norwegians are kind of crazy about their outdoor stuff. So they have this saying, it's det finnes ikke dårlig vær, bare dårlig klær, which basically means there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. So no matter what the weather conditions are, you got to be prepared to go outside. And with small kids, I mean, these kids, they want to go outside, so we go out either way.
The next person I interview has actually moved on from WorkWork since we recorded the interview. But as this is the nature of a co-working space, people come and go all the time, I decided to include it anyway.
Okay, so my name is Catherine. I'm an art director and designer in Leaf Design Lab. It's a small design agency consisting of independent professionals that comes together on various projects to create some magic for our clients and solve problems. And it's a bit different than traditional advertising agencies or design agencies that I've started before. Since I wanted to give the clients an option to have highly skilled professionals at a lower hourly rate instead of paying the rent or the roof over their head for all professionals. They can work with the writer or the designer, like on a two-man project.
What is it about a co-working space, especially one that's focused on the creative industries, that made you want to base the business here?
I think it's really important to just be around people. To just because I get a lot of questions from freelancers. What is your best advice? And my best advice is just connect to other people, because I have had a home office for some time, and it's so easy to do the dishes and just because I have 2 dogs, they are looking at me with these big eyes and please can we go outside? So there's a lot of distractions. So if you are in a co-working space, you can come to work at a set time and just. I think you're getting more out of every hour, and of course be around people to share the good stories. And if you have some issues or problems, you can just go for advices. And I think that Trondheim has changed, like it's a whole different city before I left. So I think it's amazing too, all the different co-working spaces now.
Great, thanks Catherine.
Yes, of course, you're welcome.
Although Catherine has since moved on, the dynamic nature of a co-working space means there's always new people to meet.
Well, my name is Pablo Margareto. I am a sole proprietorship here in WorkWork, and I basically keep the maintenance of 2 of my products that are online at the moment, TRDevents.no and standplacer.no, for listing events in Trondheim and for managing the booking of public spaces in the streets of Trondheim. So, yes.
So, Pablo, you are pretty new to WorkWork. You've just been here a couple of weeks. What was it about the office that attracted you?
Well, yeah, that's true. I came a couple of weeks ago, and the main reason why I wanted to join an office is because I find myself much more productive in an office than at home. And WorkWork, I don't know, it seems like a perfect environment and location just to join here, and the people that I saw, and yeah, in general the environment that you can see here, it's perfect.
And you've also increased the international community here at WorkWork as well, because as I'm sure the listeners can tell, you are not Norwegian. What brings somebody from the north of Spain to the central Norway?
That's a good question. Maybe, I don't know, I could say love. Almost, opportunities. Also, my wife and I, we met here like 10 years ago when we were Erasmus students. We saw Trondheim in a way like the tech capital of Norway, if you let me say so, and at least very strong in technical skills and companies. So it seems like a perfect place for us in the middle of Norway, yes.
Excellent. Thanks, Pablo. I'll let you get back to your work.
Great, thank you.
Du får ett victory point for hver sjette energi du har på slutten av turen din.
I've really enjoyed my time here at WorkWork so far. It's probably not my forever place, but it's got everything me and my business needs right now. As this episode was a little different from usual, I'd love to know what you thought of the style. Hit me up on lifeinnorway.net and let me know. It will help me plan what type of shows to produce for Season 2. And yes, that means we'll soon be taking a short break as Season 1 comes to an end. There's just 1 episode left, so I'll speak to you then. As always, thank you for listening.